it looks like it's the end of the road for diesel cars. At least that's the messaging that's coming in from the country's largest car maker, Maruti, that sells 50% of all passenger cars in India. Today, while announcing the quarterly results, Chairman RC Bhargava dropped a bombshell and said Maruti is going to stop selling diesel cars come 1st of April 2020. But there is a rider. Bhargava did say Maruti may reconsider this decision if it sees a market for bigger cars, the 1.5cc engines, for example. It's also going to be testing the market once BS6 cars are rolled out. Maruti gets nearly 23% of its annual sales from diesel cars. What's going to be the impact of this, not just on Maruti, the outer sector at large, Motown, and you, the buyer of cars? But before we go talk to our guests that we've got lined up to discuss all of this, let's take you through what RC Bhargava announced today. Here's RC Bhargava in conversation with my colleague Asha Mishra.
When it comes to
small diesel cars, that means up to 1300 cc, we will not be able to produce at a cost which is likely to be acceptable to the customer. So that's finished. The area which remains open is engines above 1300, which is 1500 cc engine is what is possible for dieselization and BS6. But we'll see how the market is before we make a firm view on that.
And so what happens to the in-house 1.5 litre diesel engine?
Assuming that the market is favorable, that will be converted to BS6.
And sir, you do not have any SUVs, as of now in petrol. So will we see any new launches this year?
Brezza will become BS6. We will have a petrol BS6 Brezza.
So how much royalties will you save on diesel cars because you are using Fiat engines?
What we'll save on diesel cars, we'll pay on petrol cars. So it doesn't matter. The royalty depends on the total sales, not on petrol or diesel.
Sir, do you think that this might impact your market share, as you are currently India's largest automaker? So do you think this might impact your market share?
I don't think so, because I believe that we will have petrol cars replacing the demand for diesel cars.
Sir, Toyota's version of Maruti Baleno is expected to be out soon. So by when will we see Maruti leveraging Toyota's technology?
No, we are producing the Baleno and giving it to Toyota will produce the Brezza for us, but it will be to Suzuki's technology. It will not be Toyota's technology. They will produce it according to our drawings and our specifications.
Sir, there are also concerns that this alliance might cannibalize some of the sales of some of your cars like Baleno, Ciaz and Brezza. What are your comments on that?
No, this will not cannibalize anything because it will expand the total market. And whether I am selling the Brezza made through my own channel or whether I sell it through Toyota channel, it's still the same car. We are making it. So it doesn't reduce my volume, it actually increases my volume.
Well, there you go. That's RC Bhargava announcing how Maruti is planning to stop selling diesel cars from 1st April 2020. What's the reason behind this? What led to this decision? Utkarsh Chaturvedi gets you that special story.
It's the end of the road when it comes to small diesel vehicles for Maruti. For 1.5 litre engines, what RC Bhargava said that he'll still take a look. Now, what is the plan and what is the idea behind it? Now, initially the plan was, if you look at Maruti's portfolio, they have only 1.3 litre engines and which are Fiat engines across the portfolio. If you speak about S-Cross, if you speak about Ignis, if you speak about Swift, any vehicle of Maruti had only one diesel engine. Last month, they launched a new 1.5 litre in-house engine. Before, in between, they tried the 1.6 litre Fiat engine, that too in S-Cross, that didn't work and they stopped that as well. So at this point of time, what Maruti was planning was to really get off the board from the 1.3 litre Fiat engine and then really move ahead, use their own 1.5 litre engine. Now what's happening right now is that now they're also assessing the possibility of the 1.5 liter engine as well. Now why such a move? Now first thing you have to realize, the BS6 2020 guidelines. Now the conversion of BS4 to BS6 vehicles when it comes to petrol, it is around less than 5%. When you speak about a diesel vehicle, now this increases to somewhere around 10 to 15%. That's an added cost. If you look at generally also, a diesel car costs 1.5 lakhs more than a petrol car, and the narrowing gap between the petrol and diesel vehicle is also something which is of a concern. Now lastly, speaking about the policy uncertainty, you have seen how the Delhi government, the Delhi NGT had put a ban on 2 liter above diesel vehicles, and diesel certainly was a new villain when it comes to pollution, and that is what the car makers have been worried about. Finally, the CAFE 2022 norms. Now, what are the CAFE 2022 norms? The CAFE 2022 norm speaks about regulating the amount of emission of carbon dioxide, the CO2, in the vehicles, and for petrol cars it is still easy. When it comes to diesel, there will be a further increase in price. So if you look at most of the car makers, when you speak to most of the car makers, they believe that small diesel cars are only there till 2022, and post 2022 the market for diesel will only be a very niche customer that will be into high-end SUVs, not only high-end, the compact SUVs and the mid-size SUVs all will be in petrol version, and diesel will just be a luxury.
Right, now let's go across to our guest to find out, is India really done with diesel cars? Joining me on this special edition, Jagdish Khattar, the Chairman and Managing Director at Carnation Auto. We're also being joined by Vikram Kirloskar, the Vice Chairman at Toyota Kirloskar Motor. And on the phone line, Autocar India's Hormaz Sarabji. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Mr. Kirloskar, I'm going to come to you first. You have a lot riding on diesel cars. Look at the big ones that you also put out, very popular models, whether it's the Innova, whether it's to do with even the Fortuner. What do you make of Maruti's announcement today? What Mr. Bhargava had to say, it just doesn't make sense for the smaller ones, and he may just reconsider for the new launches in case there's a market. It's too expensive. He sells 50% of passenger cars in the country. What kind of a messaging is that to Motan and to his competitors like you?
Well, I think this diesel story with BS6 and even further tighter regulations, CAFE 2022, etc., with smaller cars, it's expensive to do. The cost of conversion to BS6 is roughly the same for a small car or a large car. And there's also the question of space in a small car. So I think across the world, in Europe also, you're seeing that the smaller cars, diesel cars, are being slowly substituted either by petrol or hybrids. And that's the way it's going to go. That's the way the market, I think, wants it because of the environment issues and the perception of diesel as a dirty fuel, which I don't think is right, but that's the perception, and that's the way we have to address the market in the future.
So are you therefore then saying, and only talking about small cars, what about the bigger cars? For example, you have certain very popular models, whether it's a Fortuner or the Innova, I'll bring that up. Do you think there's still a market for diesel cars for these particular cars that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think on the larger cars like the Innova or the Fortuner, presently we supply both petrol and diesel. It's not that we have petrol and diesel in Fortuner and Innova. But obviously, the diesel is selling a lot more because of the way things are in India, and also the efficiency of the diesel engine. But as we go ahead, the BS6 diesel Innova and Fortuner is going to get a little more expensive, and perhaps it takes a little more money and cost to convert a diesel to BS6 versus the petrol to BS6. So I think that the customer will finally decide what will sell more.
So I'm going to put it in a different way. If you've got the mass market automaker, Maruti Suzuki, looking to phase out diesel cars, could a company like yours seize an opportunity? Could it sense an opportunity?
No, I think the market, listen, all manufacturers are going to face this problem, I believe. When we convert to BS6 and go to CAFE 2022, we are all going to be looking at very high emission or very low emission requirements, very high fuel efficiency requirements. And all of us will have to work on our models. I think all of us are going to spend money on it. And I think it's going to affect all of us equally on the cost. So I don't see that much difference in market share between people. I think the market share will depend really on the quality and the market appeal and our pricing and competitiveness of each of our models. This will go, it applies across the board. It doesn't apply anything specifically to one manufacturer or the other. This is evolution. We went from Bharat stage 0 to stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Now we'll go to stage 6. As we go to stage 6, more engineering costs, more product, but better for the customer. We're also adding new safety features, new safety regulations going forward. So I think all that is great for the customer, great for the environment, and it applies equally to everyone.
From what you're telling me, Mr. Kirloskar, the big message that seems to be out for consumers could also be, the corollary of that could be that, whichever way you look at it, cars are going to start costing more because of the conversion rate that you're talking about to BS6. Are all of you willing to absorb some of it? And that too at a time, for whatever reason, auto sales are headed lower. Is that, in a flip side, what you're basically telling me, that going forward, cars are going to become more expensive?
Are going to get more expensive as regulations on fuel efficiency improves. I think a lot of industrial products may get expensive because across the board you're going to look at energy efficiency. But as the volumes go up, and there's a lot of innovation going on with the car companies, with the various auto component suppliers, I think as the volumes of these new components that go into BS6 also goes up, there will be better efficiencies, and volume, scale and all that will matter. So hopefully we'll be able to have a competitive product in the future as well. We'll have a competitive product which looks after the environment as well, which is most important. And there is so much headroom in India for the car market. We are one of the lowest countries, lowest car per GDP or car per person in the world. There is a considerable amount of headroom. The country is growing 7-8%. I hope this is not the current rate of growth. I hope the growth rate increases further. We need mobility for India to grow. And I firmly believe with the kind of quality levels that the Indian car manufacturers have worked to, along with the component makers, we will maintain a steady growth.
So let me put it to you this way, for example, if I were to look at some of your other cars like a Toyota Etios, you do have that a diesel variant. Would you continue with it? It's a smaller version, it's a sedan.
I can't say, but it may not hit BS6.
So you can't confirm, but if Maruti is doing it, would you not want to continue selling it? Because you can steal some of Maruti's customers. They do sell 50% of passenger cars in the country.
It doesn't work like that, I think. It doesn't work like, one fellow's not doing it. I think this whole BS6 cafe is applying to everyone, okay? And all of us have to go to those norms. Each of us have our own strategies on how to meet those norms. Let me tell you, meeting the CAFE 22 norms is extremely difficult. And we are more concerned about that than worrying about what model someone else is dropping out or going to keep on, and what should we do for that little short period of 1 year to meddle around. I don't think that's the idea.
Jagdish Khattar, let me come to you. You're a veteran when it comes to Motown. You've just heard Vikram Kirloskar saying it doesn't work this way, that I can seize a market opportunity, but he's also not denying that he's going to phase out Etios or other much smaller cars by 1st of April 2020. How do you see this actually panning out? And how feasible is it also, given the market dynamics, the kind of sales that we are seeing, and the investments that Maruti's made in the last 12 to 15 months to actually stop selling diesel cars by 1st April 2020?
You see, as far as diesel cars are concerned, we should go back and see the confusion that the government has created in this segment. Starting from 2000, when they said that the fuel market would be open, the gap would reduce, but it was never reduced. Ultimately, the gap was between 20 rupees and 25 rupees. And there was a confusion in the market, but gradually, when people started going for diesel, you'll see major manufacturers, mostly the Japanese, never had diesel vehicles. But when they saw that the market was 30, 35%, 40%, they came in for diesel. And then you have had problem in the last couple of years. Sorry, I'll answer the Maruti question is that I'm talking about the track record. You had the NGT giving decisions, you had the High Court saying 2000 cc vehicles not allowed. There was so much of confusion, and I think Maruti has now done the correct thing, not to get embroiled in future problems. Compact cars become very expensive. I mean, diesel engines were already 70,000-80,000 rupees more. There will be another 60,000-70,000. The price will become so high, and when the gap between petrol and diesel is only 5, 6, 7 rupees, there was no scope for it. So, to get out of all this, they have decided it's only petrol. There might be a slight blip in the market, but gradually, when there is no other option, people will come back to it. So, I think as we go forward, the market is going to get affected in the next year or two because the prices of the cars are going up. Is a Euro 6, safety features, all that. On top of it, you have insurance 3 years. So I think we are going to see tough time as far as the automobile market is concerned for the next year and a half. Having said that,
can cars cost more? Vikram Kirloskar, Jagdish Khattar also saying that cars are going to cost more. If I could ask, I'm not asking for an affidavit, but for all those that are watching you, they're watching the top boss of the manufacturer, such popular models, but how much can car prices go up by?
It's car prices can go up as much as the customer is willing to buy, or we won't be producing anything. So
Oh dear, we've lost Vikram Kirloskar's Skype connection. Jagdish Khattar, what's your sense? By how much more can cars prices go up by? Obviously Vikram Kirloskar will want to charge as much as he can. He will want to make as much money as he can. But, we are talking about auto sales coming down, and a lot of the models in the affordable category not really existing as they used to back in the day.
The prices as far as the petrol engine is concerned, I think we're going to go up by about 10 to 15,000 rupees come April. But mind you, there's another confusion. Earlier the law was, whenever a Euro norm was fixed, the decision was, or the law was, that from that day onwards there will be no manufacture. Now Supreme Court decided there will be no sale. I mean, that's a major setback to the industry. Last time there was a huge problem about it. So coming back, the prices will go up much before April 2020 because manufacturer will start introducing Euro 6 much earlier, so that on 1st April 2020, all cars are even in the market are Euro 6 because Euro 4 sale will not be allowed. So coming back, these compact cars will go up by 10-15,000, but diesel engine cars will go up. They are already 70,000-80,000 rupees more. It will go up by the same amount. So I think there would be resistance from the customer for some time. The manufacturer cannot selling them on a loss. I mean, they may do a little bit, but ultimately they have to pass it on, and there would be some resistance as far as the customers are concerned.
That consumer call more. Let's talk a little more about consumers. I want to ask Hormaz this question. He's such an authority. He's such an authority on Motown. He really helps consumers out as well with his views. So Hormaz, what's your big message to viewers at the moment, all the ET Now viewers watching you in the market to buy a car. You know, I can't help but also remember Nitin Gadkari very famously saying about 2 years ago, petrol diesel car ka band baja denge. You've got Maruti now planning to stop selling diesel cars. There's no clarity. Look at the registration cost difference that takes place between a petrol and a diesel car as well. What's the big message? Should someone buy a car now, wait for clarity? You know, would it be prudent to wait right now?
I think obviously there's a scare factor on diesel. You know, as I said, they've been vilified, but frankly, from you know, on pure merit, it serves a purpose. I think I would definitely buy a diesel now at a 1.5. It's a great engine. Maybe if you are not in a hurry, wait till the end of the year, because I think there's going to be absolute chaos in the market. Because again, a pretty ridiculous rule which says you have to stop selling rather than stop manufacturing, which is a norm everywhere, including for the safety standards which are just coming into India right now. They follow the kind of, the manufacturing deadline rather than a sales deadline. So people will have to clear out their stocks pretty fast. So I think that's a good time to buy. You might get some good deals on them, but always remember that once a car is phased out, the resale value of the car always drops. So you might get a good deal on it, but when it's time to sell again, the resale value may not be that high. But technically, in terms of running, in terms of service, all that, I don't think that should be a problem. And frankly, you know, this is probably the last opportunity for some people to buy diesel cars and kind of get the benefit of what they offer, which is great torque, fantastic fuel efficiency, low CO2, and emissions which are now in control.
Vikram Kirloskar, you're hearing such an authority on Motor. Hormaz Sorabji saying there's absolute chaos that is lying ahead. If people want to buy a car, maybe they should wait. What do you have to say to that? That's the worst kind of news for an automaker to hear.
See, we have to educate our customers. That's most important. So our communication with our customers is going to be important to try to avoid as much potential chaos as possible. We have to go to a smooth, from smooth production, as he said. It's the sales date. We cannot sell BS4 cars beyond the end of March. So we have to make sure we get rid of our stocks. We don't produce more than what is sellable, and finish that by the end of March, and make sure we start BS6 in April. And the BS6 cars are going to be more expensive. We'll have to communicate to the customer the difference between what was there before, what's the difference in emission, and and try our best to explain to the customers and make them accept the price and the cost difference. That's the best. It'll take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I think it'll take 6 months to a year for people to get used to the new prices.
So that means that it's going to be a very bumpy road in 2019, where will car makers have no choice with these kind of regulatory hurdles, confused messaging to maybe even slow down manufacturing?
Well, we already, in our company, we are planning the manufacturing, the stocks. We have worked with the suppliers. I think we'll smoothly convert to BS6. I think the whole issue in when you do this kind of a conversion, and we did this from BS2 to 3 and to 4, etc., where we had dates when we had to switch over. So we've got used to it. The customers also got used to it. They all know that BS6 is coming. I think most customers know that BS6 is going to be more expensive. They also know the reason why BS6 is coming. So I think it's a matter of good communication. Watch the risks in your business. Try to minimize the risks. Watch your costs, keep them low, and go through this period. We'll have to go through it. If we keep worrying about it, I think that what will I do? We just have to minimize the risk and go ahead.
Okay. Fair point. Okay, with that, gentlemen, I'd like to thank all three of you for joining us here. Hormaz Abji all the way from Dubai, Vikram Kirloskar, Jagdish Khattar as well. This is clearly a developing story, and we're going to keep getting you back on ET Now to keep all of our viewers informed as well. With that, my thanks for watching.